Joe Rexrode, theathletic.com. Tennessee got hit, and really a lot more than maybe you think, but probably not as much as some thought it should be, and we're joined by Joe to kind of break it down, and also Jeremy Pruitt and all of that as well. Joe, thanks for your time. I wasn't sure. Are you in Nashville at SEC Media Days?
Yes, I am. Very excited to be here.
Well, what's it like? We had Pat Smith on earlier to kind of discuss it. Anything particular from today that jumps off the page at you?
Well, obviously the first day is always Greg Sankey. So, I suppose probably the biggest thing out of that is, Sankey talking about the need for Congress to get involved in NIL. Nothing terribly new or news, news breaking today. That would probably be the big thing. I got to say, if I could, if they could do this in 2 days, that'd be fine. I will take one. The fact that they do it in 4 is just amazing.
Yeah, we just got back from the Big 12 in Arlington at AT&T Stadium for a couple of days, and by about the early mid part of the second day, you almost feel like you're just zoned out a little bit. But you're going to have to be there for 4 days. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But at least you get the local teams. Vanderbilt tomorrow, Tennessee. On the final day, Thursday. There's something. Jimbo. Usually there's something interesting. So we'll count on that.
Before we get into Tennessee, I'm curious about everybody's opinions on Jimbo. Most of the time you hire an offensive coordinator with the pedigree of Bobby Petrino, although I know that talking about Bobby Petrino can be problematic because of some off-field things that happened years ago, but he doesn't seem to want to talk about it at all for any reason. Do you think that that's ego, or thinks it's some kind of weird gamesmanship?
It's interesting. I guess my instinct on that is maybe he just doesn't want to get into all the stuff with Petrino. Mm-hmm. But obviously there's so much criticism came his way for the offense. I guess like you said, maybe it's partially that too. It's funny because I was talking with a coworker, Seth Emerson, who covers Georgia today about Texas A&M, and it's say what you will about Petrino, that's a good hire for that job. Based on his track record, he's very highly regarded as a play caller and game planner and play designer. So I think Texas A&M is actually really, really interesting this year with their talent and with that hire. But of course, there's also a ton of pressure to kind of demonstrate that progress early. I would say.
So, Joe, the news comes down last week, late in the week, that Tennessee has found out their punishment from the NCAA. The investigation been going on a while now surrounding Jeremy Pruitt and violations and all that came with that we can unpack. But when all was said and done, I saw a quote from Heupel. It reminds me of, various other situations. You're just happy when it's over because at least you know now, whereas not knowing is almost like the worst part because it can be used against you and weaponized. So now they know, and now that they know, what's kind of the feeling and what was your first thoughts when you saw what the NCAA had decided?
Yeah, it's a good thing for Tennessee. Like you said, it was definitely used against them a lot. It didn't seem to hurt as much as you might expect. Josh Heupel has really exceeded expectations pretty dramatically given what he inherited. It was probably as big a joke of program as you could find in January of 21, with this stuff just coming down and Pruitt being fired for cause. But yeah, the turn for Tennessee, which I never thought was valid, but I understand that they're going to try to cover all their bases, that it might have led to a postseason ban. And I understand the letter of the law dictated that 18 level 1 violations, but given the changes coming and just given public perception and even just the way I think people even look at enforcement and violations like this now, I don't think that the folks on the Committee on Infractions could have ever actually would have done that. The report comes out and it's this would have been a postseason ban, but your exemplary behavior saved the day. That's fine. I don't think they were ever going to give them that. They got, some reductions in scholarships, things like that. They've already they've already done a lot of time served on that stuff. And it's great for them. They have momentum. The recruiting is going really well. Now they don't have this, and they can just move forward. The biggest thing that happened in the wake of all that in January 21 is that Tennessee Chancellor Donde Plowman hired Danny White to be AD. And so far, that has been a very effective hire. And obviously he brings Heupel, and he's done extremely well. So everybody's happy about it. I mean, I wrote a comment in The Athletic. I do feel bad for Pruitt. I mean, it was incredibly stupid, sloppy cheating, but like the idea that his career now is just toast in the same week that we welcome Hugh Freeze back to the SEC. I mean, there's a little bit of irony there.
I didn't even think about that.
I wondered when I first saw the title of your story about raising a glass or whatever, a toast for Jeremy Pruitt. I had to dig into your article to make sure what you meant by that, but you just summarized it yourself. But yeah, it's almost like there are some coaches who are the poster boy of nope, not going to happen, and others just kind of find a way to keep on their career going.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the bottom line is Hugh Freeze has demonstrated he can win at a high level, right? And Jeremy Pruitt hasn't. So, and that's what it is. But, I mean, no one will ever convince me, and this has been a hot topic again on Vol Twitter, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with Vol Twitter, but boy, it can be a very interesting place. You know, I don't believe for a second that Tennessee conducts this incredibly thorough and effective investigation of itself if Jeremy Pruitt is winning and everybody's happy with him in 2020, you know, not at all. And so, you know, look, I mean, you could make the case that they could have just fired him and paid the buyout, and the NCAA was not going to get near any of this stuff. We know NCAA enforcement right now is so limited, but they did what they did, and they came out okay for it. But, yeah, look, I mean, 6-year show cause, you know, the first year you'd have to be suspended the whole year. I think Nick Saban should absolutely welcome him to the coach rehab program, get him back in there, let him be an analyst, take the hits for that, and let him get back in there. He can be a good linebackers or safeties coach somewhere. I mean, you know, it's amazing. I mean, the guy learned how to build a program at Alabama and then Georgia and then under Jimbo at Florida State. And we're all going to think that anyone who wants to think that he's just out here rogue. I mean, stupid, yes. Sloppy, yes, but come on.
Yeah, that he was the one who learned. He made up the crime. Like, he was the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, Pruitt was, I mean, and again, as the defensive coordinator, was second to none for a little while, was the guy. I mean, everybody wanted him. And now, I mean, what is he's with the Giants, right? As an analyst there?
He was, but actually not anymore. So as of now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I know that he started like a business, a little business. He's tried to do a little media stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to high school coaching. But yeah, like I'm sorry, but like that guy, like considering the extra lives that some coaching careers find, I just feel like ultimately, I mean, you go through all this. It's 18 level 1 and it's 200 plus and all that stuff. It's still like more than 2 years and it's like $60K. Okay. I mean, it's meals, it's nail appointments, it's hotel rooms, it's small potatoes. This didn't even get to the heart of, you know, some of the prospects they landed where probably some real transactions happened, right? And it's just, again, reading through that stuff now, I remember how I used to read through, you know, like notices of allegations and committee on infractions reports like they were legitimate criminal investigations, and I feel so stupid for ever looking at it that way.
What would this have gotten them 20 years ago?
That's a great question. Certainly postseason. I would wager at least a couple years of that. More, you know, bigger hits probably to all the other stuff. It would be treated very differently. And I think multiple years of postseason ban. You know, now, of course, they've kind of gone, I mean, they did hit them with an $8 million fine. And really, when you look at everything, it'll probably be about $9 million that they'll end up paying. And that's where things are going. You know, but yeah, I think it would have been a much bigger deal, much stronger language, and again, it would have been what used to happen forever with the NCAA, which is, okay, all you people who have replaced, all you kids who are now there, you're now going to pay for the sins of the 45-year-olds who all just got fired, you know? And that's what it would have been.
So, Joe, that's a big question answered and just something that, you know, settled now for the program to not have to worry about much longer. We know the big successful year they're coming off of, and Heupel certainly seems like the guy. Are they going to be sauntering into media days a little more swagger than they have in a long time? Is that just sort of the feel now with this program?
Yeah, especially with Joe Milton there at media days, because he is, even when Hendon Hooker was the starter, I would say Joe Milton was kind of like the the emotional, or one of the emotional leaders and a big swagger guy for this team. I mean, just beloved in the locker room, best friends with Hooker, seamlessly takes over the team in the Orange Bowl. I don't know how good he'll be. It's going to be really hard to be as good as Hendon Hooker, as efficient. Hendon Hooker was really amazing last year until the Georgia game, when they just lost every individual battle around him. But Joe Milton is going to be fascinating this year. I think he could be a first-round pick if it all comes together for him. But yeah, think recruiting is going well. The skill on offense is, they're recruiting at a very high level, and I actually think their defense this year should be better, should be pretty good. I don't know if you're going to get much better than pretty good for a defense paired with this offense, but they've done a pretty good job of finding some pass rushers, and now we have to see if they've been able to find a corner or two.
Joe, thank you very much. Great stuff. Great article today, and we appreciate your time. Enjoy Nashville.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Joe
it.
Rexrode, the athletic.com. The Dagger back in the